Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 20 of the AOR Hype Energy Split 5 League for PC. We've got a bit of a larger grid than usual, 12 drivers at the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to
As
round
I just
20
realised
of the AOR. Why you don't have your own YouTube stream running in the background as it in guys hearing a lovely echo of my um as I mentioned, we'd been seeing some smaller fields than usual, so good will be good to see some little bit larger fields as we get ready to go underway for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Penultimate race of the season, and Kaboom is your driver's champion. So with the championship out of the way, it's time to, I don't know, have a bit of fun. Still a little bit on the line in terms of the championship for the likes of second and third place, but Dave Gaming should have second under control. 15 corner circuit here at Interlagos, and for some reason I had forgotten that the Brazil circuit was. But there you go. And that's why I need to F1 than I currently do. But big overtaking spots heading down into turn 1, down going into the Descida del Lago of turn 4. And maybe we could see some drivers having a bit of a look heading down into the likes of 8. But with that said and done, let's switch on over to our in-game view. 11 drivers, it was 12, I forgot I was one of the 12 people in the lobby. Dave Gaming will be one of the favorites to pick up the win. But that being said, you cannot discount Padloff or Padloff Futes. He is really, really quick, and we've seen that in the last 2 races where he made his debut in AOR, which was back in Mexico, and he was right up at the sharp end, battling with Kaboom. So he's going to be a driver that we really, really do have to watch out for. And as I say that, I'm just going to get up standings just so I know for sure how everything is. But yeah, of course, Padlafoots is going to be one of the big drivers to watch out for. You also have to keep an eye on Scrippy. He's had some really strong results. I think he's finished, every race he has finished has been on the podium. So definitely one driver to watch out for. And then also we do have to consider Flexis Marcy. And Flexis Marcy is a little bit interesting in that sense because he's a driver that definitely has a pace, but tends to overdrive the car, and as a result, mistakes are made, and that does cost him rather significantly. They seem to have lost the link to get the standings up, which would be a little bit of a shame. But I can take a look at the championship standings for you lovely peeps. Where are we? Where are we? Scrolling through the Discord now. Yes, so Kaboom is currently leading by 65 points with 2 races remaining, so he's got the championship under control. Enigma is in third, but Bercy is close behind Scrippy. Again, from I think 5-6 races, he's already in 5th place, and he could potentially pick up a third if he gets 2 almost perfect results. I think Pierre Carr's on a hot lap right now. So let's get up all of our juicy deets, shall we? Mr. Pierre Carr's making his way down into the Pinerino of a turn 9. Now down into turn 10. Bico Tapato down into first gear, short shifting up flat out through the left-hander. The race, it will not be. Break just before the 50-meter marker border for Junkao. And now make your way up the hill through the 3 kinks. We call them 3 corners as they are labeled on the track map. 1 minute 10.3. I'm expecting 108 for pole. There's a 109.4 for Pierre Cars, and Tilad a 109.2. What about Enigma though? We saw an incident with him back at Mexico where he made contact with I'm pretty sure it was Kaboom, entirely his fault. But he definitely has pace. Enigma goes third with a 109.2. Scrippy and Padloff, and those were the two drivers we expected to be up there in this battle. But new face in Tarabukin 51. He's sitting in 9th place. So maybe he can ruffle the feathers of some of the drivers up ahead. Maybe Tiliad as well, as I've not yet seen Tiliad in the league. But yeah, if Scrippy does pick up 15 points, he will jump ahead of Bercy in the standings. And if he can find 39 points in 2 races, he will jump all the way up to third in the standings. Dave Gaming has second secured. Impossible for anyone to catch him. But here we go. Tarabukin getting ready to start his hot lap. We make our way down, start, finish straight. Get ready to spot your braking point. Really late, about 60 meters. And a little bit too late. Slight under rotation on the front left, but he's able to drag it in onto the apex as we make our way through the Curva do Sol onto the Reta Posta. Get ready for turn 4. You can brake once again pretty late, but hug the apex as tight as you can. This is the apex by a little bit as we go down the Descida del Lago. And I get ready for Ferradura. You can carry a lot of speed into here. Downshifts into 5th. Keep it tight for turn 7. And now down into turn 8. Runs wide on the entry, and that's going to cost them just a little bit of time. And now the short run before turn 10 of Bica de Pato. Down into first gear, but once again, just seeing a little hint of understeer. Down into Juncao, early on the brakes, get on the power as early as you can as this straight leads all the way up to the start-finish line and is the most important exit of the entire circuit. Tarabukin won't come into the pits, so he's somewhat happy with his lap and is looking reasonably fast at 109.0. And Tarabukin will go P3 for Ferrari as Philip Heek in the Toro Rosso takes a P4, and it's a pretty close battle here for third place. Tarabukin leading the way ahead of Philip Heek, Tiliad, and Enigma in that second Ferrari down in 6th place. But here's the man that I do want to ride on board with. Flex's Marcy, 16.9 in Sector 1 as he makes his way down into the Bica de Pato. Back on the power as soon as he can. Flat out through Bergullo. Down into turn 12. Early on the brakes for Flex's Marcy. Just kisses the curb on the apex. And now flat out all the way to the line. I mean, it should be a 108. If it's anything above a 108, Flex's Marcy needs to find more, and it is a 109.094. And Flex's Marcy definitely has more pace than that. Just needs to be able to hook up a lap together. I also don't know how things are standing in the Constructors' Championship. I have my notes from previous to the results from before the Mexican Grand Prix, but I don't have anything from after that. I had it written down somewhere. Oh yes, I found it. So Renault were leading by about 30 points over Williams, and that gap did extend after Mexico. I'm not quite sure what happened at USA, but considering Kaboom won the championship, I think that they pretty much have the championship in the bag. Either way, it's probably going to go down to the final race in Abu Dhabi, most likely. I just realized my notepad, I've almost finished my commentary, which is rather sad. But, that being said, who is on a hot lap? AOR Enigma. He makes his way out of Juncao. Not really too much to mention. Again, with the championship having come to a close, it's a little bit down on the low. But Enigma, 108.9. And that's more of what we expected to see from him as Wessel sets a 108.9 as well. So Wessel finding pace after struggling earlier on, but Padlov 1,000th of a second ahead of Scrippy, and that is as close as possible for Padlov to take a pole. But the Scrippy is on an outlap, and well, he just needs to find 1,000th of a second to be able to jump back ahead of Padlov Hoots. So a lot to play for, but again, don't count out Flex's Marcy. I do honestly think he does have the pace. Dave Gaming will probably be looking around those low 109s. And I think Pierre Cars has a bit more time to find as well. There's a quick time though from Padlov, 108.3. Scrippy though will begin his flying lap. Down into turn 1 we go. Nice and late on the brakes, down into second gear. Pulls all the way onto the apex and now back on the power, but he has a bit of a moment heading into the retro post, and I'm not sure if he's going to have to bail out of his lap. And indeed he, as you can see, he's put the ERS down to 0. So not happy with the start to that lap. Either he's going to come in the pits or just get ready to start a brand new lap on the current set of tires. What about Tarabukin? He's in sector 2 right now. And he's also bailed out of his lap on the 0 ERS. And he'll be starting his lap momentarily. Philippe on a hot lap, dropping it down to first gear temporarily for the Pinerino. Now down into the Bico de Pato. Back on the power. You can see Scrippy up ahead, and he might actually get a bit of a tow from the Haas driver as well if he's lucky. He makes his way into Junkao, back on the power. Now Scrippy will give him a pretty big tow. Scrippy starting his lap in Philippe. It's a long tow, but it should give him maybe half a tenth to a tenth, as Philippe will come across the line. 108.9, and that's enough for 4th place. Very, very close from Enigma all the way down to Pierre Cars in 9th place. And Mulchian, he's on a lap, but now he's actually going to dive in the pits. It is a slow lap. But let's ride on board with Scrippy, because he's just recommenced his lap as we make our way down into the Descida del Lago. The back end just looking a little bit squirmy as we make our way down into Ferradura. Now through turn 7, takes a curve beautifully down the gears into... No, he won't drop it into first. You can drop it into first there, but I'm sure Scrippy knows what he's doing. Holds it in second for the Pinerino, and now down into Bica de Pato. Turn 10. First gear on the power as early as possible. Positions his car on the right at the beginning, but again, just doesn't look quick. And yeah, he has bailed out of the lap as well. You can see 0 ERS being used. So Scrippy once again unhappy with his lap. Wessel 108.9. Seen that before. Philippe is going to be starting a lap. As Wessels, he's actually found a 10th in Sector 1, but I do want to sit on board with Flex's Marcy. Is he on a lap? No, he's going to be starting here at a lap as Cars is a little bit up, but we'll ride on board with Wessel first, and then we'll make our way over to Cars. It's looking good for Toro Rosso at the minute. Philippe and Wessel 4th and 5th. Wessel comes to the end of Sector 2. Just Junkao remaining. He's 2 tenths up. And this is going to be enough for P3, which I think might be his best qualifying result of the season. As Wessel is sitting fairly down the order in 11th place. A big result here could be massive. Across the line, 108.7. And that's a solid lap from the Toro Rosso driver. But here comes Pierre Cars. He's 4 tenths up, and he's going to be right on the cusp of a Wessel. Can he bring a Red Bull into the mix here at Interlagos? 108.6, and Pierre Cars goes 3rd. What about Tilliard? He's a few hundredths up, but that's not going to be enough, as that's the Ferrari of Enigma who spun on the exit of Junkao. And Tilliard is going to make his way down into Arquibancadas. And it'll be across the line as a 108.9, and is not enough. 3,000ths down on his previous best. But what about Tarabukin? He is 1 tenth up at the minute as Flex's Marcy goes fourth, a 108.6. What did I tell you? He has pace, but so does MD CEO. He's right up there with Padlov and Scrippy, and that has to be one of his most impressive qualifying performances so far. That being said, 4.5 minutes remaining and still a lot to play for. Very, very close all the way from Flex's Marcia up to Tarabukin in 10th place. Tarabukin on to the start finish straight. How much time can he find? 4/10 would take him up to 4th place in any amount of time. Will be so big. 108.5 for Tarabukin, and that's P4 for the Ferrari. 2/100ths up on the McLaren of Flex's Marcy. Is anyone else on a hot lap? MDCO isn't. Flex's Marcy is not. What about Tiliad? No, Tiliad is going to be diving into the pits. Mulchin is 3/10ths up at the minute, but he needs to find another 2/10ths if he even wants to be in this battle for 4th place. You're seeing drivers finding more and more time as the session progresses, but Mulchin just too wide, and he's already half a second down, and that is sadly going to be his lap over. Let me know, guys, in the comments who you guys think is going to take pole. It's looking very close between Padlov, Scrippy, and MDCO, and don't forget to let me know who you guys are here to support as well. Riding on board with Philippe, 200s up as we make our way down into the Descida del Lago. Those 200s is going to be enough to take him ahead of Enigma, and then he has to find another 2/10ths if he wants to be able to jump ahead of Wessel. But this is the closest Apex Online Racing qualifying session that I have had the pleasure to commentate on. It's always been far more spread out, but good battles across the field right now as Filippico makes his way into the Bica de Pato, back on the power, flat out through the left-hander of Mergullo, and now get ready for Juncao. There is a no braking marker anymore. Philippi takes a bit of curb. I miss what that delta time was looking like, but it's all looked very clean and tidy so far. Philippi on the last stretch for his final lap of the session, and he will come across the line. What's it going to be? 108.6. Philippi will improve by 3/10ths, and he's going to make it an All Toro Rosso 4th row of the grid. 2,000 down on Pierre Cars in the Red Bull. But I do think Philippi will be somewhat happy with that. He's currently sitting 13th in the championship, 20 points behind Pierre Cars, and as things stand, he's not going to be able to jump ahead in the championship. But Iliad is making inroads. He's currently 15th in the championship. Maybe he could have a go at Philippi, who's just 9 points ahead. Now, Pierre Cars has just started a lap. We also have to keep an eye on Dave Gaming as well. Second place man in the championship is the Williams driver, with 2 Williams taking part. This is also a big race for Williams in the Constructors' Championship. Pierre Cars 600th down, heading into the Descida del Lago. We'll have to keep an eye on Wessel as well. And what about Dave Gaming? He's 5/10ths down, so that's not going to be an improvement. But Pierre Cars using all of the track, and he runs completely wide into turn 8. And I'm pretty sure he's not going to be able to improve anymore. Wessel 5/10ths down through sector 1. And that's going to be his lap over and done. What about Enigma? Can he find any time? He's 10th down into sector 1, but that is definitely recoverable. Who else is on a lap? Scrippy and MDCO. Pierre Cars is a second down. Wessel. But I want to take a look. MDCO, he's 3/10ths down in sector 1. He's not going to be improving. What about Scrippy? It is so close. We're talking 4,000 separating the top 3. This is absolute insanity right here. Scrippy is on a hot lap as I'm getting a notification about using shots on Dropbox. Get lost, Dropbox. We're riding on board with Scrippy. He's making his way into turn 8, into the Pinerino as he'll pin it back around and into the short straight before turn 10. Padlov is just a little bit further behind. What about MDCO? He's a second off, so he's not going to be able to improve. Scrippy will come across the sector 2 point or 200ths up, And how well does he take Junkao? He has a little bit of a moment. MDCO, that's his lap over. What about Padlov? He's a 10th up Scrippy. He's going to take provisional pole, but Padlov is going to jump ahead. Scrippy across the line. It's a 108.2. But here comes a Padlov. He's almost 2/10 up on his provisional best. And across the line is a 108.0, and a Padlov takes provisional pole. Is there anything that Tarabukin can do about this? Mulchin and Dave Gaming have crossed the line. They'll be starting outside of the top 10, but Tarabukin, he needs to find almost half a second. He can definitely find a 10th or 2, but he seems to be just a bit too far back. He does get a very good run coming out of Junkao. Yeah, Kaz is into the pits. Enigma and Wessel are on laps. Wessel comes across the line. He has not improved. Tarabukin doesn't take the shortest run. 108.6. He's a 10th down. And the last driver is Enigma. He is 7 seconds down. And that is his lap over and done. So it will be Padlov who picks up pole ahead of Scrippy and MDCO. Woo. Crazy, crazy qualifying session. Right, here we go then. We look to get underway for the race. 36 laps, if I am not mistaken. Might be 31, actually. Separating, well, the drivers from completing the penultimate race of the Apex Online Racing Split 5 PC League. Oh, right, so let me know in the chats, guys, who think is going to pick up the win, or just quite simply, we're here to. Right. Let's get going then, as there is a driver missing from the grid, and that is not how we wanted to starting the session. So to run you through the grid order, Padlova picks up pole from Scrippy from MDCO, as the grid was separated by 4 thousandths of a second between the top 3 until those last lap times came in. So very, very close between the top 3, and I'm sure we're going to have a cracker of a race. Tarabukin was a further 3/10 down on MDCO, with Flex's Marcy right on his tail in 5th. Picard's in 6th ahead of Philippique and Enigma, with Wessel and Tiliad rounding out the top 10. There was then a bit of a gap in the timing between Tiliad and Mulchin and Dave Gaming, as it looks like we are restarting the session. Rather anticlimactic. So we await getting a new fight game. I believe Flex's Marcy was having some issues connecting. Right, we've got our invite, so let's get underway. Oh, everyone. Quick turnaround, wasn't it, boys? Anyone from Club 100 is watching. Well, I'm sure JV would be super happy with that kind of turnaround speed. As we will be starting on the custom grid of where everyone started, but this crucially does mean that all of the top 10 get fresh tires. These lap 8 and 24 silence? Apparently I have to go silent on lap 8 and lap 24 silence. So the drivers have requested that I do laps of silence on lap 8 and a lap 24 of the Grand Prix. APM, how's it going? Cheers for tuning in. But okay, so laps of silence. Now I'm not very well versed in the ways of the memes and the ways of current stuff in general. So why am I being requested to have a lap 28? Sorry, lap 8 and lap 24 in silence for Kobe Bryant. But yeah, there we go. So if I go silent on lap 8 and lap 24, it's because I've been requested by the league drivers. I don't know if I should yet. You guys can let me know in the chat. Right, so we should be getting underway in just a short bit. I know, it's not making any sense to me. They're just saying, like, Kobe Bryant, absolute Iden, RIP, RIP, races for Kobe Bryant, lap 8 and lap 24 silence. So I don't know if Mr. Bryant has passed away. I'm pretty sure he was a basketball player, right? Or baseball. I don't know. Yeah, anyway, enough about me trying to work things out. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have a formation lap in silence for Mr. Kobe Bryant. If he passed away or not, I am unaware. So I'm pretty sure that has been a minute silence. But to run you guys through the grid order, for those of you who are joining us, it is a Padlofoot who starts on pole ahead of Scrippy and MD CEO. The three very closely matched in qualifying 4 thousandths of a second separated them when we made our way onto the final runs, and Padloff was able to find near on 2 tenths. So, Tarabukin sits in 4th with Flexus Marcy in 5th. Tarabukin was a little bit behind CEO, but then it was very close from him to Marcy, Piakaz, Philippe, Enigma, and Wessel. I think Tiliad was fairly close as well, and then a bit of a gap to Mulchian and Dave Gaming. Having restarted the lobby, it does mean that the top 10 are on fresh, soft tires, which will give them a slight bit more of an edge than they would have had before. But Padloff starts on pole with Scrippy alongside. Both of them very, very quick drives that have been impressing us over the last few races as the rev rise, and away we go for round 20 of the AOR season. Padloff Foods gets away really well, but Scrippy's going to have a look down into turn 1 anyway, side by side, and there's almost contact as Tarabukin looking a little bit feisty onto MDCO, but it is still Padloff Foods from Scrippy, from CEO, from Tarabukin. Flexus Marcy has dropped down a few positions, and I think it might keep on dropping down the order, as actually that's a Mulchian who is looking to have a go as Tiliad goes down the inside into the Desida de Lago, as that is the Toro Rosso going sideways across the track as front wings go flying everywhere. That was Wessel. So something happened to Wessel going into the Desida de Lago, but a big crash nonetheless. There is no safety car or virtual safety car just yet. But it is Padloff leading from Scrippy, CEO, Tarabukin, Piekaz in 5th place as Flexus Marcy climbs to 6th. Enigma, I'm pretty sure, dropped a few places there. So I don't know if he had contact. Sadly, we can't what quite happened there. I might be having a replay camera coming in for next week. But Tarabukin right on the tail of MDCO, and this track here, Interlagos, is a circuit where it's very easy, once that DRS comes online, just to stick on the back of someone, even if you are 3-4 tenths a lap slower than them. So as long as Scrippy and Tarabukin can stay within 1 second of their respective drivers in front of them, they should be able to stay close all the way until those pit stops, barring any mistakes, of course. So Wessel and Tiliad into the pit, so that's a big blow for Toro Rosso, who got a pretty good qualifying result. Padloff, if he picks up a win here, he will be jumping ahead of Flexus Marcy in the standings most likely, and he might even be right on the tail of Mulchian, and he is in the battle for 6th place in the championship, maybe even 5th, depending on how many points Scrippy can score. But Tarabukin fairly closer to MDCO as we head into turn 1 for the 3rd time tonight, and Scrippy over a second behind Padloff, who, with Kaboom being absent tonight, doesn't mean that Padloff is going to have a much more easier time than he did previously. Tarabukin and MDCO with that slipstream, and now these three should start to bunch up a little bit more, as that's Piekaz in the background in the Red Bull running wide down into the Desida de Lago. Now Flexus Marcy is on the tail of Piekaz. He's been closing back up as Tiliad and Wessel decide to put on those medium and hard tires respectively. Maybe the hard tires can go to the end. It'll be a bit of a stretch though. But Tarabukin very close to CEO, has fallen over a second behind Scrippy. So the first two are just kind of all by themselves. But the race for 3rd place is just getting underway. Tarabukin will look down the inside, heading into turn 1. And CEO, does he have an answer? Yes, he does, as Tarabukin goes too wide, too deep into 1, and CEO reclaims the position, but Tarabukin will get a good ride coming out of the Curva do Sol, and it's going to be 3 abreast down the straight. Oh, there's contact, but fortunately nobody loses their front wing, but there's more contact, and that's MDCO facing the wrong way, and I have a feeling that Tarabukin just turned across CEO, and that I do believe it is all on Tarabukin, so he may be getting a post-race penalty, but that being said, we haven't seen a second version of it, and it's just our kind of a gut feeling, having seen that very momentarily. All of this does make things a little bit easier for Pierre Cars, who is now up into third place after that tangle of drivers. And he's in the third place with Tarabukin and Flexis Marcy on his tail, as we saw lap before. Wessel has DNF'd, and I'm not quite sure why. Pierre Cars, is he going to dive in the pits? No, he's just taking a defensive line as Tarabukin looks towards the outside to reclaim a third position down into turn one. Side by side with Pierre Cars as we make our way into the Curva do Sol. And Flexis Marcy watching all of this unfold ahead of him as MDCO picks up a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lanes as Marcy goes down the inside, 3 abreast. We've seen this before, ladies and gentlemen. Tarabukin, though, this time he plays it safe and he backs off. Tarabukin down into 5th place as that's Marcy up into 3rd. Pierre Car's not going to have an answer heading down into Ferradura. Adloff leading from Scrippy. The gap is just over 1 second. Flexis Marcy now in 3rd. Maybe he can drag Pierre Cars and Tarabukin to close in onto Scrippy. Potentially. But let's see if Marcy actually has the pace to pull away, or whether he'll just be involved in a 3, 4, maybe 5-way battle for 3rd place as Philippe and Enigma closing on to the back of this train. With that incident for MDCO, it is disaster for the Williams team, as that might be their charge for 2nd in the championship over and done with. As Pierre Cars up ahead, he looks for the inside onto Flexis Marcy, who leaves him a room. Pierre Cars will look for the slingshot out, and Pierre Cars goes very sideways, and now Tarabukin is going to be right on the tail of the Red Bull as we make our way down the Reto Posta in towards turn 4. Pierre Cars will go defensive, and actually he's going aggressive because he's looking for the inside onto Marcy, who will hold on to a 3rd place for now. It's still Marcy from Pierre Cars from Tarabukin in the battle for 3rd place. Philippe 9/10 are down off this battle, slowly closing in. There's a bit of contact between Tarabukin and Pierre Cars into turn 8. Tarabukin looks to get the slingshot out through the Pinarino. He's not going to be able to have it go into turn 10, just too far back. Meanwhile, up at the front, Scrippy is holding that 1.1 seconds to Padloff, but he's almost within the 1 second gap. And if he can just get one good lap, he will be back within that DRS range. However, Tarabukin on the tail of Pierre Cars as Flexis Marcy starting to pull away, and the Ferrari will be wanting a little bit of revenge onto Pierre Cars as we make our way down into turn 1. Tarabukin looks towards the outside. Now he looks for the switch back on the tail of Pierre Cars as we make our way through the Curva do Sol. But I think he's just too far back once again, as Pierre Cars does have DRS and slipstream from the McLaren of Flexis Marcy up ahead. Marcy a little bit down in the ERS department, and he'll be using as much of that as he can to pull away as Scrippy picks up a 3-second time penalty, but crucially he's pushed hard enough that he has got back within a second of Padlov, and the battle for 1st place is now back underway. Tarabukin still close on to Pierre Cars, but Pierre Cars see the rear flap opening up once again. It will just make things a little bit trickier for Tarabukin. Flexis Marcy just can't get a perfect lap, and very late on the brakes is Marcy, but it will mean that he gets a much better run through turns 1 and 2. The Tarabukin goes sideways through T2, and that's going to cost him as we make our way onto the Reto Posta for lap 8 of 36. Cars is falling back more and more from Flexis Marcy. Marcy just needs to absolutely ace the remainder of Sector 2 here. He's on the cusp of breaking out of that 1 second gap. Marcy loses time down into the Bico de Pato. Gap's right there. It's just gone over a second, but I can't quite remember exactly where the DRS detection point is as Tiliad picks up a 3-second time penalty. Harabukin also falling back from Pierre Cars, so the only battle left might be that between Philippe and Enigma for 6th place. As Pierre Cars and Tarabukin do pick up DRS once again. But I think Tarabukin won't be getting it this lap around. Alexis Marcy has used up all of his DRS pretty much as well to try to get out of that 1 second gap, and it's just all fallen flat back on his face. Pierre Cars now 3.5 tenths behind the McLaren driver. Harabukin now struggling on these soft tyres. I think we might be seeing pit stops coming through in the next few laps for the drivers who are on soft tyres. The mediums can last a fair amount of laps. I think lap 12 is where we'll see the pit stops, if I remember correctly. And you can then go on to the mediums. You don't need to go onto the hards. They did commentate a race here at Brazil on Thursday. I'm pretty sure that that is the case, but something that we've been forgetting about is this battle for the lead. Scrippy's been closing in lap after lap to Padloff, as he has been able to pick up DRS. Scrippy, though, does have a 3-second time penalty. That being said, both drivers will want to be winning the race on the circuit. As down behind, Enigma very close to Philippe, but a little bit too far back as Marcy keeping the gap at 2 Pierre Cars fairly stable. Does mean that Marcy, Scrippy and Padloff will be picking up some big points tonight. Dave Gaming picks up the time penalty. Alexis Marcy is currently sitting 19 points ahead of Padloff, so as things stand, gonna lose 10 of those 19 points here tonight. Marcy will jump ahead of Mulchin. Tinko, and MDCO as things stand. But Padloff will slot in pretty much right behind Mulchin on 94 points. As down behind, Filippigo looks for the inside onto Enigma, down into turn 1. Enigma will force Philippi to take the wide line through 2. But Enigma now has a DRS as we make our way onto the Reto Posta. Philippi goes defensive. Enigma makes the move work around the outside, but he's going to drift a little bit wide, and Philippi might not be done just yet. Enigma holds it around the outside of turn 5, and into Ferradura is going to be Enigma in 6th place ahead of Philippi. Enigma picks up a 3-second time penalty. Don't forget, Enigma is currently sitting 39 points ahead of Scrippy. So he does need to ensure that he gets good results. Otherwise, maybe Scrippy could jump ahead after Abu Dhabi. If Enigma came, well, last or something here, it would be very, very close in the battle for 3rd place. Padloff still leads from Scrippy as Philippi just trying to stay within touching of Enigma. Piacars has now fallen over a second behind Marcy, and I think he's made a mistake because Harabukin has caught back up to the Red Bull. Try to keep an eye on the gap between Marcy and this battle for the lead. Currently 5.3 seconds. Tarabukin is actually 3/10 down on Pierre Cars, and you might think that he's going to pick up the move this time around. Tarabukin, less than 4/10 behind as DRS not even opened yet. Now it is. Tarabukin will be too far back to do anything onto Pierre Cars, down into turn 1, but Pierre Cars compromise line into 1. Tarabukin locks up Dave Gaming into the pits on the medium tires, so Dave Gaming going for the 2-stop strategy. He could take Haas to the end, that being said, but you'd have to doubt it if he's pitting this early from the mediums. If he was pitting from softs, maybe I could understand. Yeah, and there you go, soft. So he's going to go medium, softs, I guess, and do 13 laps on each. Tarabukin very close to Pierre Cars, as drivers will now be really using as much of the remainder of their tire life as possible before they do make their one and only pit stop in the race. Tarabukin still close to Pierre Cars, who is 2 seconds down on Flexus Marcy. You can see in the corner of your shot as Tilliard has left the session. Just 10 drivers remaining, and it seems to be a fairly common theme we're seeing as Flexus Marcy and Pierre Cars are into the pit. So is Padloff and Scrippy. And actually, I just want to see, is this actually going to affect Padloff? No, Padloff gets out nice and cleanly. Scrippy right behind as well. I don't think either of them got held up in the pits. Hopefully not. They might have done, you know, there's a bit of a bigger gap between Padloff and Scrippy than I was expecting. Now, Scrippy's gone for the hard tires. Padloff has gone for the mediums. And I think that is Scrippy making the mistake. They will feed out behind Mulchin in 4th place. Dave Gaming, though, is 5 seconds down on Pierre Cars, and I don't think he's going to be able to get ahead. Stretch out enough of the gap, pit again for softs, and then reclose them back down. So I think Dave Gaming is going to be stuck in 9th, maybe even 10th place, depending on what Yo's pace looks like, as Padloff is on the tail of Mulchin, and this might be the only overtaking move he's going to have to do all race long. Closes right up to Mulchin as we make our way into Junkao. Mulchin will get well out of the way as Padloff picks up the position as we go through the kink of turn 14 through 15, and that is Padloff up into 4th place. Mulchin, though, going to stay out for a bit longer. He did start on these medium tires, so he's going to make them go to probably about lap 20, I think. Flexus Marcy jumps ahead of Tarabukin, who has dived into the pits. He's going to be coming out fairly closer to Pierre Cars, but here we go. Tarabukin will come out behind. He won't have DRS or anything like that, but you should be able to pick up DRS next time around, and 1 lap fresher tires as well should help him just a tiny bit. Philippe still closer to Enigma. Let's see if they do both head into the pits this time around. Would make sense if you're trying to get that undercut. Now Scrippy is almost a second down on Mulchin, who's over a second behind Padloff. So Padloff with a 2-second gap to Scrippy, looking in a great position to pick up the win. I don't know if it's his first win of the season. I think it would be, because Kaboom did... Actually, Kaboom didn't win in Mexico. That was Padloff. Kaboom, involved in that incident with Enigma, did affect the race, and as a result, I do think it was Padloff who picked up the win. Scrippy yet to win this season. He's had a lot of second places. And we see Scrippy picking up the position onto Mulchin. That being said, Mulchin not doing too badly, and I think maybe when he pits onto those soft tires, he could be in contention to actually challenge Pierre Cars and Tarabukin for what is currently 7th place. Tarabukin getting very close, but up ahead actually. Padloff within range of Philippe, who... Okay, Enigma goes into the pits, Philippe stays out. And Padloff heading down into turn 1 will look for the inside. And pretty standard move. Padloff back into the lead of the race, but Enigma's dropping down the order. What about Tarabukin and Piekars? They're going side by side. Tarabukin on the outside into turn 1. He'll have the inside for 2. And Piekars will be forced to yell, but he'll get the better runner through the Curva do Sol onto the Reta Oposta. Tarabukin won't go defensive. Can he hold it around the outside? No, I don't think so. And Piekars will reclaim a 6th position as Enigma feeds out. A little bit further back as Tarabukin going right onto the artificial grass. But Piekars just does not leave Tarabukin any chance to go down the inside into Ferradura. What I wanted to say is Enigma has come out right behind Dave Gaming, so there's no way Dave Gaming is going to get ahead of Enigma and Philippe unless an incident does occur. Philippe also we're expecting to come into the pits this time around. Tarabukin and Piekars, this battle for 6th or what will become a 4th place will begin to rage on. Philippe into the pits and he's going to drop down the order all the way down to 9th place. But Tarabukin is going to look for the outside once again into turn 1. Or a little bit of contact between the Red Bull and the Ferrari. Piekars holds it around the outside of 2. And he reclaims 5th place. But this time it's Tarabukin's chance to sit behind Piekars onto the Reta Oposta, but he's too far back. And as we make our way down into the Descida del Lago, it is Piekars in 5th ahead of Tarabukin. And maybe he can just try to push and break this 1 second gap. Now, Enigma, 1.6 seconds down on Dave Gaming. Philippe almost 2 seconds behind. The question is, are they closing in onto Dave? Or is the gap remaining constant? Considering that Dave Gaming is on fairly fresh soft rubbers, if they hold the gap, that would be a fairly decent job by Enigma and Philippe. Then Tarabukin is a further 5 seconds up. So Enigma and Philippe need to gain about 7 seconds if they want to join in this battle for 5th place. And with the battling that Tarabukin and Piekars have been doing, that is most definitely possible. Up in the lead though, Padloff has a 2.3 second gap to Scrippy. Tarabukin going a bit sideways into turn 1 as Piekars picks up a 3-second time penalty. Enigma falling back from Dave Gaming as Philippe closing in onto Enigma. Tarabukin now over a second behind Piekars. And I actually think Flex's Marcy could pick up 2nd here from Scrippy, just because Scrippy has gone for those hard tyres, and maybe in the last couple of laps the hards might be better than the mediums, but even that I potentially doubt. So Scrippy making a very bad judgment call going for these hard tyres. I don't know if he's done any practice runs beforehand, but if he did, I think he would know that the hards just do not work as well as the mediums in the 2nd stint. And this might prove very, very costly to him. Tarabukin still within a second of Piekars. And that will mean that he will get DRS for the start-finish straight and the Reta Oposta. Could mean that this challenge for 5th place will go on just a little bit longer yet. That being said, Piekars is really far ahead, and I think this time round he will get the job done and pull out of that 1 second gap. Piekars did pick up a 3-second time penalty in the Descida del Lago last lap round, so that might affect things. I'm not quite sure how the time penalties for everyone are looking. I think Piekars has 2 and Tarabukin either has 1 or none, but that is ultimately a guess. Dave Gaming has stretched out a 1 second gap, a further 1 second from Enigma over the last couple of laps. Philippe holding station relative to Enigma, so things are looking decent for Enigma and Philippe. They're not losing too much time as Tarabukin has a moment. Dave Gaming is slowly closing into these guys. Enigma and Philippe, I think, are too slow to catch up to Tarabukin regardless. The big question for me is Mr. Mulchin, who is sitting in third place, just ahead of Flexus Marcy. After his pit stop, he's going to come all the way down in 10th place behind MDCO, but with fresh, soft tyres to the end of the race, I think he'll overtake CEO. He should overtake Philippe, and Dave Gaming still has another stop to do, so he should be able to get, some solid points here. Mulchin 8th in the standings. This would be enough to jump him ahead of Tinko and MDCO, and maybe deny Flexus Marcy from taking his spot of what would then be 6th place. MDCO, remember, he had to pit very early on after a rather unfortunate incident that he had, which involved him, Flexus Marcy, and I think it was Piekaz. No, it was him, Piekaz, and Tarabuki. They were battling for third place. Flexus Marcy was closing on to them. And the three ran side by side down the Retroposta, and there was contact. And then while they were backing out, Tarabukin turned across MDCO, spinning the Williams driver around and costing EO his front wing, forcing him to pit at the end of, what was it, lap 5? However, Piekaz has stretched out a gap as up ahead. That's Flexus Marcy. He's picked up the position on Mulchin, finally caught up, and this might be the time for Mulchin to dive into the pits. Maybe he'll just pick up DRS from Flexus Marcy for one lap and then pit on lap 23. Either way, those medium tires can the soft tires that he will be going on to will definitely be able to make it to the end of the race. And he should be able to push a fair bit on them as well. The only battle that is happening on track, and Mulchin will indeed pick up a DRS for this lap. So lap 24, he should be pitting. If he pits any later than that, that's just going too far on these medium tires, in my opinion anyway. However, Mulchin 1 second down on Flexus Marcy now, so he won't get DRS this time round. Flexus Marcy 4.6 seconds down on Scrippy, and with 13 laps to go, 5 seconds is catchable, especially on mediums versus hards. We know Flexus Marcy does have pace. The question is, can he consistently put in the laps? Also, MDCO is closing in onto Philippe on these older medium tires. We know MDCO is a faster driver, but I don't know if these medium tires will last to the end of the race. Something's happened to Enigma, because Enigma was ahead of Philippe, and he is spun or something's happened. Mulchin's into the pit, so I think Mulchin will be coming out potentially ahead of Enigma here. DCO on the tail of Philippe. This is a good comeback drive for the Williams driver. They'll look down the inside as we make our way down into turn 1. That's MDCO upper place, and there you can see Mulchin making his way out of the pits. Enigma's going to be too far back to pick up anything here, but Mulchin is under 3 seconds behind Philippe and CEO. So you'd have to feel that he's going to overtake both of them and be able to pick up 6th places. That's a Philippe who spun. Has he lost any of his front wing? No, he has not. And Enigma's going to be catching up. So both of these two have spun. And that does mean that when Dave Gaming pits onto fresh softs, he might be able to challenge Enigma and Philippe. Mulchin 2 seconds behind MDCO, who is 3 seconds behind Dave Gaming. keep an eye on how these gaps change. But being 13 seconds behind Tarabukin with 11 laps remaining, 1 second a lap is possible. Dave Gaming dives into the pits. Done 12 laps on these softs. He's got another 12 to do. But how far down the order is he going to drop? Very far, all the way down into 10th place. Tiliad is going to be way too far back. See, Tiliad's in the pits, but Dave Gaming is going to drop well behind Enigma and Philippe at this battle for place. Going to be about 14 seconds behind, I think, roughly. So Dave Gaming 12 seconds behind with 12 laps remaining. That's 1 second a lap, and it's the same as what Mulchin needs to catch up to Tarabukin. But Dave Gaming closing in onto drivers with slightly fresher mediums, but they've both spun, so maybe their tires are slightly more worn out. Scrippy picks up another time penalty, and what that does mean is that Scrippy might even fall behind Flexis Marcy, as Flexis Marcy uncharacteristically been very clean, and I don't think he's picked up a single penalty. But here comes Mulchin on MDCO, who has such old medium tires. Mulchin with the fast lap of the race will move up into 6th place. The job done, and now potentially the hunt for 5th place as well. MDCO, though, if he makes it to the end like this, it still would have been an absolutely fantastic drive on such old, such worn medium tires. In fact, maybe he was ahead of Dave Gaming when Dave Gaming came into the pits. He could hit for softs, come out ahead of Dave Gaming, and go for the same strategy as Dave. Otherwise, these mediums are going to be so worn out at the end, and he runs a big risk of dropping behind, you know, Philippe, Enigma, and Dave Gaming here. But we'll have to see how well he can manage those tires. Flexis Marcy is into the pit, so I'm not quite sure what Marcy is doing here, but he's just inting his championship. He was looking set to pick up actually 5th place. He has a 5-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane, but he was looking set to pick up 6th in the championship, or potentially 5th. Actually, no, he would have been too far behind Scrippy. And now he's going to come out behind CEO, behind Mulchin. What is Flexis Marcy doing? Those 5 seconds lost in the pits is absolutely crucial. Otherwise, he would have been a second behind Mulchin. So I don't know how he's lost that much time. So Flexis Marcy has had an incident somewhere. I guess he lost his front wing. So I have no idea what happened to Flexis Marcy, but just as we were saying, Flexis Marcy uncharacteristically being consistent, he then goes off and makes a mistake in a race that he should have. He had 3rd in the bag, maybe even 2nd, and why is Padloff down in 2nd? What's happened up at the front? I am reading this right. Is Scrippy leading from Padloff with Piekars just a couple of seconds behind? Now, Padloff was about 4 seconds ahead of Scrippy, with Flexis Marcy a little bit further behind. So this is very bizarre. Scrippy, all of a sudden, is going to pick up the win. 25 points. Enigma down in 9th. He's going to be about 16 points behind Enigma going into the final race at Abu Dhabi in the battle for 3rd place in the championship. And that is possible for a driver as fast as Scrippy. If he can get a good result, pick up 1st or 2nd, and Enigma has another poor result like this, that would be 3rd in the championship for Mr. Scrippy. And meanwhile, for Padloff, it does mean that his really challenge for 6th place in the championship is pretty much over, with only picking up, you know, the 18 points here. But Tarabukin is on the back of Piekars. Volchin is still 11 seconds back. Flexus Marcy picks up the fast lap of the race. That is a crucial point for him. Tarabukin, though, looking for the outside as we go into Ferradura. Not going to be able to make it work as Piekars holds on to the position. This is what Mulchin needs. 7 laps remaining. He's not able to close in. He just does not have the pace. Flexus Marcy, though, he'll catch up to CEO without a doubt. But can he catch up to Mulchin, who he is 12 points behind in the championship, and he was on point to beating, but due to whatever has happened on, what was it, lap 27? No longer going to be able to do that. Dave Gaming in 10th place. Maybe he'll catch up to Enigma. It's what Grippy really wants to happen. It'll help Renault out in the Constructors' Championship, as well as Tarabukin has a little look, but he's not going to be able to do anything down into turn 1. And rather bizarre set of events that have recently happened, and we did see some yellow flags are popping up on the screen. Sorry, I do apologize for this. Tarabukin on the tail of Piekars on the exit of the Descida del Lago. Once again, he'll look for the outside into Ferradura, and they're side by side. Such a risky place to try it, but Tarabukin's going to go for it. Piekars forced to take a slightly less optimal line through turn 8 as Enigma picks up a 3-second time penalty. That might gift Dave Gaming 9th place here. MDCO. The pace that he has on such worn medium tires is absolutely phenomenal. But this is a point where I would be expecting to see those medium tires really, really dropping off in pace. Tarabukin on the tail of Piekars, closer than he has been in the most recent laps. Tarabukin will look towards the outside. Piekars goes defensive, but I think he was too far back, and indeed Tarabukin will sweep round the outside and claim 3rd place in that final podium spot. Mulchin's closing in, but not by enough. If there's contact between these two, Mulchin will pick up 3rd place. And as I say that, there's almost contact as Piekars tries to switch from one side to the other. And I'm not sure if Tarabukin did change direction more than once there. That might be something for the stewards to investigate. And this is all good news for Mulchin with 5.5 laps remaining. Battle more, he says, and he'll be able to see that he's closing in by a hefty amount each lap. Padloff closing back into Scrippy. Now, Scrippy does have at least 2 time penalties, and Padloff has a none. So, this race is still winnable for Padloff here. Enigma, 1.4 seconds behind Philippe. I think he's closing back in. Marcy is less than a second down on MDCEO, but I want to take a look at this battle for 3rd place first. Piekars, they're too far back, and Tarabukin, maybe he's got the job done. Maybe he's got the pace to pull away. Flexus Marcy too far behind CEO this time round. Piekars is close to Tarabukin. He looks towards the outside. Now he switches to the inside, and he's going to have a look from downtown. And Tarabukin's forced to leave room, and Piekars now right up there. Marcy picks up a 3-second time penalty, but he should be able to get past MDCO regardless. Piekars right on the tail of a Tarabukin. But crucially for Mulchin, they don't go side by side, which means he won't catch up as much as he would like to on a lap 32 of 36 here at Interlagos for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Flip 5 of the AOR PC F1 2019 League, penultimate round of the season. It's weird, I can give a really long title to this race, but Piekars on the title of Tarabukin. These two have been battling all race along, and Piekars will look to reclaim 3rd place. He moves back across to the outside, and he'll pick up the position. But Tarabukin, can he get the drive coming through the Curva do Sol? And no, he runs a little bit wide, and Piekars might have just stretched out that 1-second gap. Tarabukin does have DRS, so he should be able to stay within that 1-second range when we start lap 34. Flex's Marcy did pick up the position onto MDCO. I'm not quite sure where he did that. It might have been on the Reto poster last time round. You can see Mulchin up ahead. Maybe he can close in enough. I'm not sure what the time penalties are looking like at the present point. Padloff, though, is within 6 seconds of Scrippy, so he should jump ahead post checkered flag after time penalties come into effect. Scrippy has at least 6, maybe 9, and I don't know if Padloff has picked up a time penalty just yet. Dave Gaming picks up a 3-second time penalty, and that's going to cost him in terms of trying to jump ahead of Enigma. And this is all going to have crazy, crazy implications in terms of the championships. And there's going to be a lot of battles going on into Abu Dhabi, especially for the likes of Padloff and Scrippy and Flex's Marcy, who joined the season a little bit later than everyone else and have been climbing their way up the standings. And there's no doubt if Padloff and Scrippy had joined right at the start of the season, they would have been right up there challenging Dave Gaming and giving him a good run for his money. More so than Dave Gaming was able to. Lap 34 of 36, 2.5 laps remaining. Yakar still half a second ahead of Mulchin. MDCO just over a second behind Flex and Marcy, who hasn't been able to close in anymore onto the McLaren, his McLaren teammate of Mulchin. And remember, Mulchin did pit just after Flex and Marcy had passed him. And Marcy, due to getting that 5-second time penalty, due to pitting with the 5-second time penalty, emerges behind Mulchin. And we have no idea why he has gone for this strategy. He was sitting in third very comfortably, and he had third in the bag, but he decided to pit for the soft tires, which has been an awful, awful decision. And I just have no idea what he was thinking. Lap 35 of 36, Padloff still closing in onto Scrippy, but Tarabukin closing in onto Pierre Cars. He has about 30% more ERS. MDCO actually closing back in onto Flex's Marcy, so I'm not sure what's going on with Marcy here, but he's got all of his front wing. I have no idea why he's losing so much time. Mulchin picks up a 3-second time penalty, and there have been quite a few time penalties. I don't know how things are going to change up. But as we get ready to start the final lap of the race, Tarabukin is close to Pierre Cars. Use up that ERS. He has saved us so much this lap, but so has Pierre Cars. Knock it up into a mode 5 for the final lap of the race. What are you doing in mode 2, Tarabukin? Mode 5 for the entire lap. Go, go, go. I don't know why he's saving ERS, but Tarabukin, he is within half a second of Pierre Cars. He needs to do something down into the Descida del Lago. Yeah, Car's slightly compromised exit through turn 1, and Tarabukin is right here. MDCO has dropped off Flex's Marcy. That battle's over and done. But here we go, Pierre Cars defending from Tarabukin. Tarabukin will look to the outside, but he's just too far back to be able to do anything. He'll get a better runner through the Descida del Lago. Can he potentially have a go down into Ferradura? You never know, there could be contact between these two. Yet we've seen it before in this race, but Tarabukin just can't find a way through, too far back. He's got so much ERS, and he makes contact with Pierre Cars. Tarabukin, I don't know why he has so much ERS saved. Turn up your mix. This is actually really baffling me. Maybe he's looking to do the drag to the line, the Lewis Hamilton drag, but here we go, turn it up. He's too far behind. Scrippy picks up the win. It's going to be Padloff who takes second, but he doesn't get close enough. 1.2 seconds behind at the end. Tarabukin will close in with 57% of ERS. He jumps ahead post finish. What about Mulchin? Flex's Marcy dropping off like crazy. Mulchin will take 5th. What about Flex's Marcy? He'll come across the line. MDCO should jump ahead. No, MDCO has more penalties. So, crazy, crazy. Final couple of laps to the race. Philippe out of fuel across the line. And that might give Enigma. Dave Gaming jumps ahead of Enigma across the line. But I think Dave Gaming loses the position. And indeed, he does. after time penalties come into effect. But Skrippy picks up the win from Padloff, and sadly, it does mean that things are a little bit less close in the battle for 5th place in the championship. Skrippy with those 25 points will jump ahead of Bercy. He's now on 135 points, and he's just 16 points behind Enigma heading into the final race of the season. Padloff picks up a decent amount of points. He is right behind Flexes. He's still intense. Flexes Marcy gains some points as well, but the battle for 6th place is well and truly on. Hinko, Mulchin, Flexes Marcy, and Padloff all in the battle. Actually, Mulchin gaining a fair amount of points in this race. MDCO in that battle as well for 6th place. But that is all that we have time for. I don't think we're going to be doing any driver interview of the sort. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. I hope you did enjoy the show. And until next time, guys, stay fast. And yeah, we'll be back next Sunday, 8 p.m. GMT, for the final race of the Apex Online Racing season at Abu Dhabi. So until then, stay fast and good night.